Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Untangled. I am over the moon to have this conversation today with Amber Monroe. She's a powerhouse in healthcare technology and customer experience. Amber currently serves as a senior vice president of customer experience at Paradigm Senior Services, where she leads customer support, account management, and enterprise teams, all with a sharp focus on improving the experience for both clients and caregivers in the home care space. With over a decade of experience in healthcare and software as a service, Amber brings not only industry expertise, but a deeply human centered approach shaped by her own lived experience. Amber, good morning. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Good morning. I'm so excited for this conversation. Thank you for having
Me
me.
too. Me too. We were playing schedule shuffle, but we got it together.
We made it work.
We made it work. All right. So, Amber, I was telling you my audience is kind of a mix of people who are kind of new to UX, thinking about do they want to do this, as well as people who've been doing this a long time who are like, hey, what is next for me? So let's kind of ground them with who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do today, and then how did you even get into customer experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I I really am the current senior vice president of customer experience at Paradigm Senior Services. And Paradigm is a revenue cycle management company based out of Miami, Florida, and we service home care providers all across the country. So we have over 4,000 customers that we're supporting in the senior care space. They're taking care of pediatric patients, patients with developmental disabilities, and we really help reduce that administrative burden on their shoulders. So that's kind of what I do today. My team is pretty big. When I first started with the organization about 2.5 years ago, our account management team was quite small. I would say we're roughly around 8 people. Enterprise team was me and me alone, and we had no support function. So that was the team, and we grew pretty quickly, and we started prioritizing a focus in our support function, building an enterprise team, and then really I would say, almost tripled in size our account management function. But how did I get here? I have been in healthcare for 2 decades, 20 years, which is it's crazy. I'm thinking about I blinked and I'm here this long. So but I really had a passion for healthcare for a really long time. And I used to take care of 2 women with developmental disabilities in college. And I really, really love taking care of people. And I wanted to make a bigger and broader impact. And I worked for the hospital system for a few years. Really loved what I did in the hospital system, but I found the hospital system to be lacking in quick innovation. And so that really grounded me to say, what actually do I want in my career? I knew I wanted to make a broader impact. I knew I am a fast, quick learner and I wanted to move fast. And so I really made the decision to move into a space of technology. And I knew I loved people. And so customer success and customer experience was like the perfect fit for me. And I just got tossed right in. And I felt like I was a duck on water where their feet are like pedaling tremendously. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna look calm, cool, and collected on the top, but down below it is moving. And I did that for, I spent time really learning the craft, becoming a domain expert in customer success and customer experience, attended a lot of conferences, networked with a lot of folks that have been there, done that, so I wouldn't make some of the same repeated mistakes. And that really left me into this wonderful, wonderful career that I've had for a long time. So I'm really thankful I made it here.
That is a powerful story. I love the connection to that realization. Like at the heart of it all, you just like to take care of people, right? And that resonates with me so much because that is where I ended up too, right? Like I do this because I love people, right? I just choose you in a different way. I'm gonna send you one of my rubber duckies because my team we call each other ducks for that exact same. Oh, cool, cool, connected on top, but getting it.
Yeah, please send it to me. I love it. I'll keep it on my desk.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me this, Amber. So for some of my audience, they're probably like, why are we even talking to somebody in customer experience? So can you tell my audience what is customer experience?
Yeah. Customer experience, I really think it's a foundation of creating unique, delightful moments throughout the entire customer journey. And customer experience is how do they interact with you before they become a customer? Once they become a customer with your services or your platform, how do you create those unique experiences for them throughout that customer journey? And it's really about moments in time. It's moments in time throughout their experience that meets them exactly where they are in the moments of time that matter the most. And so you really, really have to look at the broader picture. And we all have customer experiences when we go to a restaurant, when we're interacting with our Netflix subscription based company, or we all have those customer experiences. Is it easy? Is it frictionless? Is it simple? Do you get what you need quick, fast, and with ease? Like those are the important moments. And so we're constantly looking at ways to really focus on customer experience throughout the entire journey to ensure they have the simplest, easiest, frictionless experience as possible.
So using that definition, which I'm absolutely going to use, you're going to see that several times. There is a lot of overlap between customer experience and user experience. So, in that, what do you think makes customer experience unique or separate from experience?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's so much intersection between the two, between UX and CX. I think for me too, and even in UX, there is so many moments of time where you really are needing to sit down with customers to understand how they interact with your software, how they interact with your platform. So you really can make sure that you're delivering the best experience for them as a whole. In customer experience too, for me, it's I do a lot of what I call customer listening tours. And they're not new and I didn't come up with it. I probably took it from some book I read or some podcast I listened to, but they're called customer listening tours. And I find them to be the most incredibly valuable experience for anybody in a CX or UX type of role. It's really important to understand from a customer's perspective. There's all different types of customers. There are some with strong technical aptitude. There are some individuals with lower technical aptitude. And you really need to make sure that regardless of where they are as a person, you meet them exactly where they're at and that your software or your solutions or your services are able to cater to the entire demographic of customer base that you are working with. And that's critical and important. So in customer experience, there's so many moments to really define what the segments of customer types are. What are those personas that are actually buying your services? What are the personas to really get down to, okay, different personas probably need different experiences. You can't just slap one experience across all customers and say this is going to work for everybody because it just doesn't work like that. And so really getting down to to really once you kind of really clearly define those separate personas of customer, then you can really start to do that customer listening tour and get deeper involvement in understanding how they move, how they operate, how they interact with you, how they prefer to be communicated with. Are we talking omni-channel? Are we talking chatbots? Are we talking emails? Do they want a phone call? Those are like critically important to the experience. And it makes sure that if a customer wants a phone call, we are actually picking up the phone and calling the customer. And so those are moments that matter for them. And it's important that you're meeting your customers exactly where they are.
I'm going to come back to this question. So let me write it down so I don't forget. Okay. People about your listening tours. In addition to yourself, who else joins those listening tours? I'm not sure how you do it. So are they calls or yeah, how are you doing your listening tours?
Okay, so my biggest recommendation is if you are doing listening tours, you get your executive team involved. Your leadership team needs to be involved because at the end of the day, we are all taking care of customers. And it's important for everybody in whether you're mid level manager, whether you're a senior director, you're an executive, It's really important that several leaders have an opportunity to connect with customers face to face. I find that our heads of marketing love getting in front of customers and really understanding those pain points. That's make sure that our messaging that goes out into the market actually meets the customers in the way they want to be met. And that's important. If they're not involved in those conversations, they are left to make a lot of assumptions about what the market is looking for, as opposed to really understanding what the customers need. I love when my CEO gets involved. I love when my COO gets involved. This week I was at a conference and I had my or my CEO with me, and I had my chief product officer with me as well. And I just took them around and I was like, I'm going to show you off to everybody. Okay. So I just was like, follow me. And I just introduced them face to face to customers. They got to shake hands, take pictures, really have deeper conversations, left me with some follow-up items that I need to follow up on with customers. But it was so important for them to really be in front of those customers to understand how they're experiencing Paradigm. So I think that those are important people. Now, I have been in organizations that it's difficult to get executives bought into the listening tour at times. And honestly, I would say that it's important that I usually send out an email, ask them to book 15 minutes on my calendar, and then I just dive in. I have a subset of questions. It's kind of a little bit like an informational interview. It's a little bit of conversational. It's how are you experiencing Paradigm? What can we do better? What is what keeps you up? What keeps you at Paradigm? What keeps you here? Because that's important for me to truly understand. And then usually I'll take that and I'll summarize it. And sometimes I'll do it once or twice a year. And I'm talking to customers all the time anyway, but sometimes I have a concerted focus of like, here's what our customers are feeling and experiencing right now.
So you're putting together a summary. Are you sharing that out with anybody or
I do.
sharing that with or what are you doing? How are you managing it?
I do. I do two parts. One is I share with our executive team. I think it's important. I do that a lot with even our satisfaction surveys. So we're running CSAT surveys or NPS surveys. Usually I'll put some slides together, just a little bit of an executive summary of like the purpose of the informational interviews. Here's the insights that were gathered. And then if they want to dive a little deeper into the raw data, of like the comments for every question, I will give them access to that link. And sometimes I get, everybody's clicking the link. I get lots of comments usually. And a lot of times too, I share with my team. I think it's important to know that like, hey, I'm talking with customers. I give them a heads up. I give my account management team a heads up of like, hey, I'm going to be getting in front of customers over the next month. And so I'm going to be picking them at random. I hope to get customers that all of you are supporting. And I'm going to summarize that information. And usually I'll share that with my leadership team and say, hey, here's some areas of opportunity we have to. And here's what we're doing super, super well. And then we make sure to translate that all the way downstream. So it's across the organization and downstream throughout the organization. So everybody is familiar with the results of this customer listening tour. That's important.
Very much so. Very much so. Okay. Thinking about your role, and I know it's like a trick question, but what does your day to day look like? So when you get up, what are some of the things that are top of mind?
Yeah, I think top of mind, at least right now, is really how do I deploy AI agents, and AI assistants to really allow my team to operate in the most efficient way they can possibly operate. And so, our CRM is coming out with a lot of new tools when it comes to agents and assistants. And honestly, there's not a lot of people I know that have really deployed agents and assistants just yet. Like they're really just doing it for the first time. So there's a lot of us trying things out for the first time and seeing how it works. For me, I'm looking at how do I triage help desk tickets better? How do I have an agent that can assess and maybe answer the bulk of the questions that are coming through our support team or our help desk team to minimize the number of actual humans responding? And so that way it minimizes the workload for the team, creates some efficiency and quick responsiveness for our customers, and we all win. Customers get responded to way more timely and with significant accuracy because you're able to train those agents. But also on the other side is I get to lift some of that burden off of my team. And that makes me feel great. And so I'm looking at ways that we can deploy that to really minimize. I think also is in the role that I'm in, we have a pretty big tech stack. So we have a lot of different tools we're having to navigate in, and we're constantly looking at how do we reduce the tech stack to keep our team in one or two solutions or one or two platforms to help them move quicker and faster. And so that way they're not, in 8 different systems and trying to find, one piece of information for a customer that will delay our ability to take care of our customers timely. And so I think those are like some key things. And then I'm constantly looking at our overall satisfaction scores. I'm really looking at surveys that come in. It happens pretty much every single day. I get surveys that go directly to my inbox. I know when customers are happy, when they're dissatisfied. I know exactly when they want a manager to call them. I know what's a fire that we need to address as soon as possible. And so that's a lot of my day to day is really looking at and trying to really put together themes when it comes to what we're doing really well and where we have opportunities to improve. But I'm constantly looking at new tool to help create efficiencies for the team. And so, and a lot of times I do feel like I am someone that is constantly collaborating with a lot of our cross functional departments to say, hey, I'm not getting what I need. How do we move quicker, faster? What do you need from me in order to help us deliver things quicker? And so I feel like sometimes I'm a little bit of a put a little pressure on a few cross functional teams to make sure like my team is getting what they need. So I'm a strong advocate for my department, and everybody that knows me knows that I'm a very protective mama bear, and very much so. And I protect the culture on my team. I protect my employees. I protect their time, and I'm always looking for ways to create a better employee experience and make work easier for them to do their job really, really effectively.
Thinking about your employees and kind of this agentic shift that you're making,
Yeah.
what are you doing to prepare or teach them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for us is we have a very AI forward department. And we've kind of sat down as a team and especially as a leadership team, we've really sat down and said, okay, I really want us to be the most AI forward team in the entire organization. I want us to be like the early adopters. I want us to be the AI champions. And so I encouraged my leadership team specifically to really spend time listening to podcasts, hopping on webinars, networking with other folks in the space to really make sure that we are collectively, as a leadership team, pulling down insights and information that will help us learn together because it's new to me. It's new to my leadership team. It's new to my product team. And we're all in this learning together. And so I do think that on my account management team, I'm sure I've got some AI champions. And so it's really important for us to identify who are those AI champions, who loves technology, and who could be some of those early adopters for us. Who could be someone that can test out things? Who can be someone that tells us if something's working in their current workflow in their day to day? Does this help? Does it hurt? Is it working? And really have someone give us feedback. And so I think that's how we've started is really and every Friday, my team does a weekly recap, and they just kinda put together of, like, "Here's my quick wins, here's my blockers, here's where I need support," and they always put in there what they've done from an AI forward standpoint that week, and so I get to listen to new podcasts because they've listened to new podcasts. I get little tips and tricks or webinars they've attended, and I'm proud of my leadership team because they've really invested a lot of time, and then sometimes they're doing it on their personal time. I have my support manager, George. He's incredible. And he's like, I was listening to a podcast in the evening. And I was like, I love that. Like you're listening to AI podcasts in the evening. Like you are living and breathing what it means to be a true AI forward thinker. And that makes me really proud that we are going to have less resistance to change when it comes time for us to adopt those processes.
That is huge. That is huge. Thinking about to just kind of help ground everyone. So when you say your customer, who is your customer today?
Yes. Our customer today is home care agency owners.
Okay.
So these are people that are taking care of our seniors. They are taking care of our veterans. They are taking care of the Medicaid population, at times the Medicare population, or they're taking care of pediatric patients, or sometimes those with developmental disabilities or traumatic brain injuries. So the agency owner is usually the one that works with us. And then usually they have one or two people in their organization that make sure everything in the system works. So that way it pulls over to our system. So there's usually someone in their billing team or their operations team that we will work with day to day. But that is our true customer. It's owners. They're busy entrepreneurs. Most of the time, they're small business owners and they're across the country and they are doing the deepest, hardest job that we have in the country. They are taking care of people and they are doing it. And my job is, and my team's job, I preach this all the time, is our job is we want to lift as much administrative burden off of their shoulders so they can go out into their communities and serve more people. That is what we want to do.
That is a powerful mission. You think about for all of us, right? There was like this huge focus on like empathy. And what I taught my students is empathy is not just caring, but it's caring enough to like fix the problem, right? Like so in what you just said, we're not just making something, right? We're going to make sure that that's like taking this extra burden off of these people so they could give more to the people that they're serving. That is so powerful. That makes no sense. Look at you. Okay. Uh, one of the things that we talked about before is kind of the experience that you've had working with UX team. So, in that, what is something that you wish UX professionals in general knew more about, better understood, kind of about that CX space and what's important and how to communicate? What is the thing? What are some things that you wish that we would take away from that?
Yeah, I love that. I think it's tap onto your CX or CS leaders. We will help make sure you have access to customers. And I think that is critical. You cannot be great at UX if you truly don't understand the customers that are using your tools. And so tap in on us, tap our shoulder and say, I need some support. I have an incredible UX team that works at Paradigm. And they said, hey, I would love to stand up a customer advisory group. I would love for us to put a customer advisory group together so our product folks, our UX folks can really tap into those customers to get their feedback on how we're delivering our products. If there's things that we could do better for them to create a better experience for them. And honestly, it was a great opportunity for me to tap into my team and say, you all know which are the best customers. You know, vocal customers, you know, tech forward customers, you know, customers that maybe hate the tool they have to go into today and have a lot to share with nuggets of value. Let's identify those people and let's hand that over to our incredible UX team and let's allow them to tap into those resources as frequently as they need to in order to make sure that this product that we are going to deliver, this new version, meets our customers exactly where they need to be met and it meets their needs. And so tap into us. We're happy to help. We're happy to get you access to the customers in the way that you need to. We're happy to support that conversation. And yeah, we're happy to provide feedback back to you. I think it's important that there's feedback on both sides, right? So let's just say we would deliver a new experience for a customer, and we've got customers in the support chat channel, you know, saying, hey, this is frustrating, or this feels clunky, or this isn't easy. Taking that information and clearly conveying it back to the UX team is critical. There has to be that two-way channel of communication in order to make sure that we can quickly pivot if we need to and we can fix things on the fly, especially if it's causing like a critical like pain point for customers when they're going into our system. That's what I would say.
So what I appreciate most about that is so when I'm doing research, getting ready for research, the first group that I want to talk to is the customer support team because that's problems are, right? They do. They know. They're not guessing. They can tell us where the problems are. I think in a lot of these organizations, some at least from a UX perspective, instead of customer support, they go to account executives and sales. We love LA, but they have it. We need motivation, right? They have it. They do for motivation. So, what advice would you have for those teams who may not necessarily have that strong leadership who can make that connection for them? What would you tell those people? How would they better connect with customer experience, customer support?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a couple of ways too. I think it's great just to colleague is definitely tap into those folks. I think we are all leaders in our own rights. No matter what your job title is, whatever your job function is, we are all leaders in our own domains. And so I think you have a responsibility to deliver something of value. And the only way to do that is to really understand where the customer points are. And so I encourage and implore anybody in a UX seat to reach out to their colleague in the support department and say, "Hey, I'd love to have like a 20-minute coffee chat with you. I'd love to talk about what are some things going on your side of the house? What are some things that you're seeing? What are some things that you would love to see fixed in the system? What are some things that we could do better to make a better experience, to create less support tickets for you?" I think it's also important to constantly define the value for the other person. Because a lot of times people are like, what's in it for me? Right? If you tell a support person that you're going to help them reduce their number of support tickets, your support person's like, what do you need to know? Let me tell you. Let me tell you everything that is going on. If you're going to help me reduce my support tickets, you're adding value to my life and my experience as an employee. And so that to me is such a easy way for you to quickly understand some of those pain points. If there's opportunities too, so I give our feedback surveys, I give everybody has direct access to our feedback survey results. So they can go into our CRM system and at any point in time, they can click the feedback or survey results and they can see happy customers, unhappy customers. They can look at themes, they can export the information, they can go and dive into it. Our team has full access to that. If you have the ability to get access to those insights, it's really, really powerful. It's very, very powerful. So even if you aren't able to like directly get in front of customers right now or right in front of the leadership team, that could be a way where you could really digest the information and really dissect where it is that you're seeing the biggest pain and then see if that you could work on that to improve that experience.
Okay, great. I want to now transition and talk a little bit about you. Okay. Okay, let's start. You. So you've gotten to this place. Let's talk about your transition from an individual contributor to a leader. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some things that you wish you had known sooner? You kind of had to learn it the hard way. Things you were like, why didn't I know this?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I have so many lessons learned. So I want to start first by saying I did work. I was an individual contributor and I kind of always took the role of being a trainer for all employees. I just loved what I did. I was passionate about what I did. No matter what job I'm in, I put my full heart, soul into the work. And so I always got put into this position of like I have to train other employees or they appoint me to train other employees. And I had worked for this organization and had been training a lot of employees and I really raised my hand and vocally expressed my interest for leadership, which was scary for me because I had like internally been like, I really want to do this. I think I'd be a good leader. I think I could do this really well. I also had really bad leaders too. I was like, I could definitely do better than that person. I could definitely create a better experience. And so I remember raising my hand and say, I'm very interested in being a peer. It's something I'm super interested in doing. I think I have a knack for it. I'm really good with people. I really want to pursue that. And my leader at the time, unfortunately, sat down with me and said, I don't feel you're ready.
Oh,
I don't think you can go to people leadership.
oh,
And it was really tough. I stepped away from that because I respected this individual. I stepped away from that conversation and I knew what my personal goals were, and I didn't let that manager define what I wanted for Mike. And I made a decision in that moment and said, okay, if my leader doesn't feel like I asked all the inquiring questions of what do I need to do to close the gap in order to be ready for a people leadership position. This person was really not supportive of me transitioning to people leadership. And I made a conscious decision that I would have to pivot organizations. And I chose to do that probably within 3 months of that conversation. And I mean, it was like a punch in the gut a little bit and it hurt. But I wasn't going to let that define what I wanted to do with my career. And so I ended up interviewing for a supervisor position for it's health information management. So we do all things medical records, documentation management for the hospital system. And I became a supervisor of 35 people. I don't recommend that. On to 35. Okay. I do not recommend that.
Too far in, ma'am. Too far.
I do not. I mean, first off, kudos to the woman who I love dearly with my whole heart. Her name is Krista. She saw something in me and said, "This person is someone I want to take a chance on." And that rarely happens. And I had lots of experience with training employees that no experience leading employees. That was tough for me. I will tell you, that was really tough for me. Thankfully, the hospital system partnered me with a learning and development department that trained new people leaders. And they helped me do what's called a 360 review. And so they actually, before I started, they assessed all of the employees and said, what do you hope to learn from Amber? What do you want Amber to know about this department? What would good leadership look like? And then after I had been in the job for 3 months, they did another 360 of like, how am I doing? And I got a lot of positive uh, reviews, but I got some really serious negative ones. And those ones were, uh, gosh, they were so valuable for me to really understand how I was showing up. And I think the biggest lesson I learned is that number one, you don't have to know all the answers. And I think as a woman in leadership too, we almost are a little bit over preparers, right? And like you never want to that sometimes that little imposter syndrome or that little critic shows up and tells you like, who am I to be in this room with these 35 incredible professionals? And I think that there were moments where I was really didn't know how to navigate performance situations. I didn't know how to navigate bad attitudes. I didn't know how to navigate underperformance. And I made a lot of bumpy decisions. I made a lot of bumpy decisions at the very beginning. And I had a great cohort of leaders around me that just wrapped their arms around me and supported me through this journey. And I definitely think that I learned a lot from my employees. You cannot come in to a job and change everything. You cannot come in and spew your ideas and say we're going to change this, we're going to without first understanding the culture and the people. Like and you have a responsibility to build rapport with your team. And I failed to build rapport before I started uh dictating changes, and that did not serve me well, and it didn't serve my team well. If I could go back and redo that situation, I mean, it made me who I am as a leader today, and honestly, I take every feedback as an opportunity to learn and grow from, and sometimes people's feedback is harsh, and it is direct, and it's harsh, and there is probably truth in that feedback, and it's your responsibility as a leader to say, what can I learn from this feedback and how will I change that moving forward? And that to me is the most important.
So much to
Yeah.
unpack there. So much. Okay. One thing that you said that I think applies to people in leadership as well as I see this a lot with designers, especially sometimes some researchers, but a lot with and new leaders. They want to come in and on day one, they want to change everything. So what we've all read books and all this other stuff. How long do you think you should wait? Sit back, learn the organization. How long should you wait before you start making changes?
Yeah, I think you at least have to have a minimum of 30 days in the job. Like, you 30 days on the job, you really need to have a good understanding of the landscape. If you don't understand the landscape in 30 days, you probably need a little longer.
Yep.
For me too, it's there's like every organization has their own cultural nuances, right? Their own things that you really need to understand, like how things move and operate, and you need to ensure that the changes that you're making don't have negative or downstream effects. And so it's really critical to understand the dynamic of the organization before you really start going in and making recommendations on what needs to change. Doesn't mean you cannot input. Doesn't mean you can't share your thoughts and ideas. But going in at the very first day and saying, I want to change all of these things definitely isn't going to go well for you. And honestly, you're cause a lot of friction and you're going to make the job harder than it really needs to be. And so at least a minimum of 30 days would be my recommendation for sure.
Okay. So on the flip side of that, this idea of building rapport, I see that as being a challenge for new leaders and researchers. So, how do people build rapport in these organizations?
Yeah. It also it depends on your organization and what type of culture you have. Is it a remote first culture? Is it a team that's on site? Is it a hybrid team? What does that kind of look like? Because culture probably or building rapport probably looks different in those different environments. For me, it was really critical to have one-on-one time. When I first took over the account management team, when I came into the organization, was really like one-on-one time with every account man. I spent 30 minutes. I had some account managers like very nervous to meet me and I really wanted them to like I am not my title. I am a human being. I make mistakes just like you make mistakes. I'm worried about performance in my job just as much as you are. And I wanted to show them like I'm an authentic and real person and we are going to do this together. And I am on your team and I'm here to support you. And so I think that was important for me to show my heart and really show that the type of leader that I am. And so I had one-on-one conversations with account managers. I think it's really important to do fun activities with your team. We just went to a fun Marlins versus St. Louis Cardinals baseball game. We had a we rented out a suite and our we have a big team now, so we had a suite and everybody came in after hours. We had a few that brought their kiddos. And it was just a moment of time to not really talk about work, but like really get to know people on a personal level. Who has kids? Who's struggling with teenage girls like I am? Like eh, Let's build let's build rapport on shared likes and interests. Who likes walking? Who likes speaking in public? Who likes reading books? Who likes, crocheting? What are those things that interest you that get you excited that we can find connection on and about? And then I usually with my leadership team, I really try to take them out for lunches. Like we have lunches away from the office and it's a sit down time and it's casual, it's natural. We go to usually a nice restaurant and we just unload. What's on your mind right now? How's life? What's going on in your personal life? Like we really just really build rapport and getting to know each other because it's important to know what people are going through. So you have perspective on how to support them in their role. And you can't have perspective if you don't know your people. And you're going as a new leader, you can't just blanketly lead people in the exact same way because people are very individual, unique humans, and everyone needs something different. And you have to find what are those things that are different for them that will make them feel valued and appreciated and supported.
Absolutely. So like with research, I tell people for me, I went to a big company and I was used to being in an agency, right? So I get to say,
Yeah.
your baby is ugly, right? And then just kind of walk, hey, it was fine. Then you go into an organization where you are trying to be a leader or you have to give bad news, right? And people hear you different if they know you as a human. right? Somebody that I
Yeah.
could go have drinks with later. We have business to take care of right now, and I'm not doing this out of like a dislike for you, right?
Yeah.
We have something bigger to protect. So people, I think, hear you differently when you take the time to actually get to know them people and humanize yourself as well.
So true. So true. When I first became a people leader, that was probably one thing I wish I would have done better. I think I was not as open about sharing things that on my personal life. And I wish or even being vulnerable. I struggle with vulnerability sometimes anyway. My husband will tell you that. I struggle with that sometimes too. There's like this little protective defensive thing I have going on, and I've had it since I was a kiddo. And, my husband says he chips away at it little by little, and that vulnerability will sometimes just blossom out. And so it's something I've as a person, that's something that's myself. I want to show up more vulnerable and more authentic, and connect with people in that way. And I want to be able to also be that leader that holds people accountable, because you don't want to be too far the one side where you're like a friend and can't hold people accountable. And so I had moments of that in my early career too, where I really was like, there was like like I was wanting to be liked, and I like cared about being liked. And I was like, oh, they don't like me. And that was something I had to struggle with internally. Trust me, years and years of being a people leader now, it's not about likability. It's really about outcomes, results, and your employee experiences. And if you can create that culture that you really pour into your people, they'll pour into your customers, they'll pour into your business. So really they are at the heart of it. So
I want to take a moment though, and this comes up a lot in some of the mentoring sessions, right? There's a difference between being human and TMI. Don't have to give everybody everything.
very much.
It's so like have some hobbies, have some things that you like to do that you can talk about. We are not like exchanging, high school traumas. We don't have to do that. Right. So have some layers to you so it doesn't have everything. Right. Like,
Yeah, you also have to have a boundaries. So we have to have you have to have professional boundaries. That's very, very important. So
okay. So let's talk about you and I have a shared experience. We have teenagers. We do teenagers. I think that was like first thing was like, baby, listen, I need to tap in if I have this 16-year-old who is making plans for himself. So what do your kids think you do?
my kids think I travel a lot and I talk a lot. I travel a lot and I talk a lot. And they know I'm in healthcare, but they really don't know, I think, deeper exactly what I do. I know they know I travel. I know they know I speak. Because they've listened to my podcast before. They listened to a webinar before, so they know I'm always on the road. It's so funny. I had conferences this week, and my youngest daughter, who's 13, she comes to me and she's, Mom, why can't it just be a Zoom meeting? Why does it have to be an in-person?
Look, I asked the same question.
I was like, I hear you. Why do we need what? And then she was like, what is a conference? And she's like, please don't go into too much detail. Just give me the a high level.
All right, clip notes, clip notes.
I was like, I got it. I got it.
That is so cool. So where we are with my 16-year-old is what are you gonna do like after high school? Like where do you want to go to school and what do you want to study? I think when I came out of school, that path was considerably clearer than it is today. So
Yeah.
what do you tell your kids? How are you preparing your kids to make, professional decisions and career decisions today?
Yeah. I think I'm the first one in my family to go to college and graduate college. And it's something I'm really proud of. And it's so interesting how I'm navigating the conversation today, because I'm really looking at what are the strengths of my kiddos. I've got a 15-year-old and I've got a 13-year-old, and really laying out here are options. I think the future scares them a little bit too, of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I want to do. I don't exactly know. And I was like, it's okay, honey. You don't actually have to know what you want to do today. It's fine. So I think for me, with my oldest, what I've done is I really sat her down and said, what do you want? She's like, I want to own my own business one day. I see you. I see what you're doing. I love that you work from home. I love that you have some flexibility. I want to own my own business one day. And I was like, okay, let's look at like what is the education that could support you owning your own business if you wanted to go down the path of getting pursuing an education. So we sat down and we looked at colleges. She wants the college experience. She wants a dorm. She wants to be with friends. Like she wants that experience. And I want her to go to an in-state school so I can get some tuition support from the state of Florida. So I'm like, you can pick it in the state of Florida. You can choose any school you want to go to. So we looked at, a degree in an undergrad degree in business administration. I feel like that is a really almost not that it's vague, but I would say it's appreciated across the industry, a business administration. It's specific enough that it could give her a lot of opportunities in business. And then an entrepreneurship certificate. That was something that really we could foster her desire to want to own her own business one day. She needs those experiences, and I think that's important. I think maybe an internship would be great, and we've talked through that. And so I do think that she's got a lot of options. Today, kids are on TikTok, they're on social media, they're making millions, doing what they love right out the gate. And college isn't even a path that they need to even consider pursuing. And quite frankly, it isn't the only path. They have trade schools, they have a lot of different ways that you could make a living and support your dreams and your desires. And if something you want to do is go to college, which my oldest is very interested in doing, that I will support that. I try to really be open of like, I support you with whatever you choose to do. But I think it's important as parents that you're not defining what that looks like for them and you're allowing their passions and interests and you're just fanning that flame. You just, hey, stay here. You got the path. You know what you need to do. Here are your options. You really have a lot of choice and decision making power in what you want to do with your life. And mom and dad are here to support you with whatever that looks like. So, and then my 13-year-old, she changes every week. So, so one day she wants to be an actress. And she's like, I want to be on commercials. I want to be on the Disney Channel. And I was like, okay, sounds great. I love it. Let's go to acting academy. So she's in acting academy on Tuesdays. I was like, hey, if that's what you want to do, like, let's do it. So it's so funny because she's such an introverted kiddo, and it actually causes her a little like little anxiety, like, to speak in public. So I kinda love that she's, like, doing something that makes her uncomfortable. Because 'cause I'm like, I'm definitely a person that's like, do stuff that scares the crap out of you, because that's actually how you grow. Like, don't stay in your zone of comfort. Like, if you always do that all the time and don't take risks, like, you will never have an opportunity to see what you are potentially capable of doing. And so I'm big into, like, tell my kids all the time, like, take risks, do things, travel. I didn't get a chance to travel in my 20s, and now I'm like, I can't wait till my kids go to college and me and my husband, we're out. We're gonna travel. Yep. Or in the wind. Yep. Exactly. So yeah, that's what I talk to my kids about now.
I love that. I tell my son, I tell everyone I mentor and even my employees, get comfortable being uncomfortable. It is that place that you're not that gives you kinda like the heebie-jeebies. It's like, I'm interested, but I'm nervous. That's where that is your lane, unfortunately, right? You get comfortable being hustle. So you use the word passionate a lot, so we're gonna wrap up on that one. Amber, what are you passionate about?
Oh my gosh. I am really, really passionate about supporting and amplifying the voices of women. Really passionate about it. It's something that's been near and dear to my heart for a really, really long time. I recently took a board of directors position for an organization called Ideal for Healthcare. And it is an opportunity. It was really, really started and founded because we went to a lot of healthcare conferences. At least our founder went to a lot of healthcare conferences and recognized there was a lot of men on panels, and there was a lack of representation of women. There's also a lack of representation of women of color. And that is something I'm deeply passionate about changing. I'm passionate about making sure more qualified women are on stage speaking. I am more passionate about seeing more qualified women in board positions, in executive leadership positions. And so this ideal for healthcare is something that's really near and dear to my heart. And it's allowing a place for women to really come together it's also a place where we can't do this alone without our counterparts. And so we have male allies in the group that are really about fostering and promoting women and giving women opportunities that they may not have had before. And so this community is something I'm very, very passionate about. I sat down with two women yesterday that I adore so much. One is a CEO of a large franchise brand in the home care space. Another one is a senior vice president, and we sat down and we had a very, like, intimate conversation yesterday in the lobby of the hotel room just about being a woman in leadership positions and preparing for speaking opportunities and almost over preparing for things and making sure that our thought leadership is respected with our colleagues and people see us as qualified. And then we started talking deeply about imposter syndrome and that critic that sits on our shoulder that constantly tells us we're not good enough or we shouldn't be in this room. And we're like, tell that little thing, that little critic to shut up and sit down. Like, tell it to shut up and sit down because I am, and stop playing small. Yeah. And we really had that conversation about show up authentically as you are. And so, yeah, ideal for healthcare is something I'm very, very passionate about. So if there are anybody listening that's in the healthcare space that has an interest and a desire to be in a community of other women, we'd love to have you. It's free to join, and so they can join.
We will definitely make sure we share out that link. I love that. I think you have so many people who would benefit from that. So I want to be mindful of your time. Before I let you go, is there anything else you would want to leave with the audience?
No, this was so wonderful. It's such a pleasure just to chat with you. I could chat with you all.
All day. I feel like we'll have to do a round of this. I'll have you with ideas, but no, this has been fun for me. Just getting to know you and talk through this is awesome. So I appreciate you giving your time and sharing with us.
Of course, of course. Thank you for
All
having
right. Well, you have a good one. Thank you so much, Amber.
me. You too. Bye.